Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chana Ballabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya Asatara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavindya Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premananda All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, The Movements of the Living Entities, Text 33. Satyam, śaucaṁ, dayā, maunam, buddhiḥ, śrīr, hrīr, yaśaḥ, śamaḥ, śamo, damo, bhagaś, ceti, yat-saṅgād, yāti, saṅkṣayam, satyam, śaucaṁ, dayā, maunam, buddhiḥ, śrīr, yaśaḥ, śamaḥ, śamo, damo, bhagaś, ceti, yat-saṅgād, yāti, saṅkṣayam, satyam, śaucaṁ, dayā, maunam, buddhiḥ, śrīr, yaśaḥ, śamaḥ, śamo, damo, bhagaś, ceti, yat-saṅgād, yāti, saṅkṣayam, satyam, śaucaṁ, dayā, maunam, buddhiḥ, śrīr, hrīr, yaśaḥ, kṣamā, śamo, damo, bhagaś, ceti, yat-saṅgād, yāti, saṅkṣayam,
Satyaṁ, śaucaṁ, dayā, maunaṁ, śamo, damo, bhagaś, ceti, yat-saṅgād, yat-saṅgāya,
Vaishnavis. Satyam, truthfulness. Śaucaṁ, cleanliness. Dayā, mercy. Maunam, gravity. Buddhiḥ, intelligence. Śrīḥ, prosperity. hrīḥ, shyness. yaśaḥ, fame. kṣamā, forgiveness. śamaḥ, control of the mind. damaḥ, control of the senses. bhagaḥ, fortune. cha, and. iti, thus. yat-saṅgād, from association with whom. saṅkṣayam, are destroyed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation: He becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. Purport: Those who are too addicted to sex life cannot understand the purpose of the absolute truth, nor can they be clean in their habits, not to mention showing mercy to others. They cannot remain grave, and they have no interest in the ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life is Krishna or Vishnu, but those who are addicted to sex life cannot understand that their ultimate interest is Krishna consciousness. Such people have no sense of decency, and even in public streets or public parks, They embrace each other just like cats and dogs and pass it off in the name of love-making. Such unfortunate creatures can never become materially prosperous. Behavior like that of cats and dogs keeps them in the position of cats and dogs. I was just moving it so you can read it. They cannot improve any material conditions, not to speak of becoming famous. Such foolish persons may even make a show of so-called yoga, but they are unable to control the senses and mind, which is the real purpose of yoga practice. Such people can have no opulence in their lives. In a word, they are very unfortunate. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, I was struck by Srila Prabhupada saying in this purport that those addicted to sex life cannot become famous, because it seems in the Kali Yuga people do become famous for that, and it's not really fame. It's a kind of infamy. There's kirtim, which means fame, and then there is also upakirtim, which is infamy. So it's more like infamy. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's described how in the Kali Yuga, everything becomes very dark. And in the darkness, when everything is covered by this cloud of illusion, the real luminaries don't shine. You can't see the stars and the moon. What you see is the fireflies, the artificial, false reflection of fame and things like that. So in the conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy that took place when Lord Chaitanya made his tour of South India, it was, usually Krishna is the one who is speaking, like Krishna was giving teachings to Arjuna. and so, like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving his teachings to Arjuna, but who was asking the questions. But in the case of Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya, it was Lord Chaitanya who was asking the questions, and Ramananda Roy was giving the answers, inspired by Krishna, of course. One of the questions Lord Chaitanya asked him is, what is real fame? What is real renown? And Ramananda Roy replied, the greatest fame, the best kind of fame is the fame of being a devotee of the Lord. So that is real fame. this other kind of fame is just a kind of infamy. Srila Prabhupada said that these days what makes a person famous is being very wealthy or rich. So you can see who gets most of the fame in the material media. It's like somebody who's become fantastically wealthy, a billionaire of some kind. They're very famous. And in terms of that kind of fame. So the devotees of the Lord aren't interested in mundane name and fame, but if they surrender to the Lord and act in His mission, His service, they share some of the opulences of Krishna. Aishvaryasya samagrasya viryasya yaśaḥ śrīr Jnana-vairagyośchaiva sanam bhagamitingana. Krishna has different opulences. He's got all wealth. He's got all fame, all beauty, all renunciation. He has all the opulences in full. But because we're part and parcel of Krishna, we can share in those opulences that he has in minute degree, the same quality but not the same quantity. Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, the soul is part and parcel of me, just like a spark is part of the fire, but it's not equivalent to the whole fire. And there's a relationship between the individual soul and Krishna. And that relationship is one of servant and master. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yo vididati kaman. Yes, we're eternal as Krishna is eternal. We're conscious as Krishna is conscious. But the difference is, he is the ultimate source and maintainer of everyone. So that has to be recognized. Jivara Sarupahoy Krishnara Nityadas. Our relationship is one of service. And that brings me to the main point of this verse, is that those who are, Srila Prabhupada uses this word twice, addicted. Those who are addicted to mundane sex life can't understand the real purpose of life. Nate vidu svartikatim hi vishnum durasha ye bahirartamanina andaryatandar upaniyamanas tetisha tantram udamni vadha. Those who are too addicted to the bahirmanina, to the external sense gratification, the highest form of which is material sex life. If they're too addicted to that, they can't understand that Vishnu or Krishna, serving Krishna or Vishnu, is the real purpose of human existence. So they become attached to things that will prevent that. So this is something that every devotee has to deal with, how to deal with sex life. There are some bona fide ways to deal with it that will help one advance in Krishna consciousness, and there are some unbona fide ways of dealing with it that won't help one advance in Krishna consciousness. It will take one in the other direction. Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that if one behaves like the cats and dogs, one will be in the position of the cats and dogs, either metaphorically or in actuality. There's the cycle of reincarnation, whereby one takes the kind of body one has, that one takes a type of body that one has cultivated the mentality of, according to the state of the subtle material body composed of mind, intelligence, false ego, in a simple way. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam it's stated that the subtle material body also is made up of the subtle material senses and the subtle sense objects. Those are all part of a more expanded conception of the subtle material body. So if one cultivates the desires and mentality of an animal, then that may be the next type of body that one gets. Of course, for devotees, maybe a little bit different, because whatever advancement one makes in this life is a permanent asset. So in Bhagavad Gita it's described that a person who doesn't complete the path of devotional service will be given another opportunity to take it up where one left off from one's previous human life. But Srila Prabhupada wanted his disciples to take advantage of the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead in this very life. So there are different ways that one can deal with this addiction to material sex life. One thing is to understand, and Srila Prabhupada very often says this, that kṣamā, material sense desire or material lust, is a transformation of prema, love of Godhead. When in the purport to this verse, I think it's 337 of Bhagavad Gita, kama esha, krodha esha, raja guna samudbhava. In the purport to that verse, Srila Prabhupada makes this point that when love for God comes in contact with the material energy, particularly the mode of passion, it's transformed into lust, kama. And from there it transforms into anger, which transforms into illusion. And under illusion, one is captured by the material energy. And so if we want to transform kama back into love of God, Krishna arranges for there to be an opportunity for a soul to do that. Dharma virata bhuteshu kamosmi bharatar shabha. I am that kama or sex desire carried out as a sacrifice in the form of marriage, so that opportunity is there. It said, akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo dharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha param. So, whether one has all material desires or no material desires, the best thing for everyone in every situation is to practice bhakti yoga, to practice devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that way, one's material desires can be fulfilled, and at the same time, one can make advancement to the real goal of life, becoming a devotee of Krishna, pure devotee of Krishna on the spiritual level of reality. So, there are many examples given in Shastra of the different ways that different devotees deal with these things. I mean, I have my own personal history of how I've dealt with them. Everybody has their own history of how they deal with these things. But, you know, some of the examples from Shastra are, give examples of different ways in which different personalities deal with these things. And some of them are illustrations of what not to do, and some are illustrations of what should be done. For example, when Krishna and Balaram were entering the city of Mathura in defiance of King Kamsa's, in defiance of the rule of King Kamsa, who was a demoniac king, they were encountering, as they entered the city, kind of in violation of the order of the king, of Kamsa. They encountered different servants of his, and one they encountered was Kubja, who was a hunchback girl, said in the descriptions that Srila Prabhupada gives of this pastime in the Nectar of Devotion and in the Krishna book. She had a pretty face, but her body was twisted because of that condition of being hunchback. But she was carrying scents, perfumed oils and things like that to King Kamsa. Krishna asked her what she had and where she was going, and she explained, well, I'm taking this scented oil to King Kamsa. And Krishna said, well, I think you should give it to me and my brother Balaram. So she agreed to do that. She was attracted to Krishna, and she gave it. And Krishna then transformed her. He took her by the chin and straightened her body out so that in addition to having a pretty face, she had an attractive body as well. And in that state, when she realized that, the first thing she did is she pulled Krishna's by his garment. Krishna wears yellow silken cloth. So she pulled on it and said, come and visit me at my house. And Nectar of Devotion says that Krishna just bowed his head and kind of blushed. But eventually, Krishna and his Yadu dynasty friend Uddhava went to visit Kubja in her house. So she had been transformed from a hunchback servant into what Srila Prabhupada calls a society girl. It's like an escort or something we would say today. The point is, she was approaching Krishna in a spirit of kama, but not exactly the kind of kama that the gopis displayed, which was purely motivated. They had no desire, the gopis had no desire for their own sense gratification. They didn't want to please their senses, they wanted to please Krishna's senses. So sometimes Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas explain that that kind of desire to please Krishna without any desire for one's own sense gratification can be called kama, of a spiritual kind, not like material desire to please one's own senses. So Srila Prabhupada says she had a kind of kama praya, a desire to serve Krishna, but in a way that also she wanted to please her own senses. Therefore, she's not considered to be on the same level as Krishna's queens in Dwarka or the gopis in Goloka Vrindavan. So Krishna satisfied her desire in this sense by her attraction to him, her desire for selfish enjoyment, which she wanted to please Krishna, but she also wanted to please herself. So Krishna removed that, and they had, Srila Prabhupada explains that when her material desires were removed, her spiritual desires were satisfied. So that is an example of a kind of love for Krishna, but not the pure love for Krishna, which should be without any tinge of selfish desire. And that's what Srila Prabhupada established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness for, to encourage unselfish, pure devotion to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, understanding that pleasing Krishna or Vishnu is the ultimate purpose of life. So he made an arrangement for devotees to deal with this. I guess I can call it a problem, or with this phenomenon of sex desire. You know, we have our different ashrams, brahmacharya ashram, sannyas ashram, vanaprastha ashram, and in which sex life is not really allowed. And then there is the grihastha ashram, in which it is allowed. And in that way, by serving Krishna in one of these ashrams, ultimately we can become freed from sex desire, material sex desire. So I'll stop there. Any questions or comments? Bhagavati? Okay, the question was, these warnings are there, but we're in situations where we have to, in one way or another, associate with the opposite sex. So these are individual decisions that each devotee has to make. It's pretty clear what the standards are, and it's also pretty clear that we're never going to be in a situation where there's no opportunity to deviate from those standards. You know, that's I mean, even you isolate yourself in the forest, you know, Menaka will come, an apsara will come, something will come to test you. Or like Haridas Thakur, he went to a cave, but still Maya came. So, understanding what the ultimate goal is, understanding what our position now is in the material world, and figuring it out somehow with the help of Krishna within the heart, the guidance of Krishna and his external manifestation of Supersoul as the spiritual masters, instructing gurus, initiating gurus, and the association of devotees. One can figure it out gradually, come to some solution that enables one to continue the practice of Krishna consciousness and at the same time satisfy whatever material desires one has in a regulated way that allows one to remain in the association of devotees. Like myself, you know, I came to this community in 1976, and I was in the brahmachari ashram. And one year, one of the senior devotees came to me and said, somebody is interested in you. And I said, I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me who it is. I will, I was taking a very hard position, some people were talking about, some leaders were saying, we would like you to take sannyas and this and that. So I turned down that opportunity. And years went by, a couple more years went by, and then I had read the story of, who was it? Kashyapa Muni, who went and prayed to Krishna. He said, no, I shouldn't do it. So I prayed to Rukmini Dwarkadish. I know I shouldn't do this, but and then, some arrangement was made, and didn't ultimately last, but somehow or other, there are different, depending upon our cultural background, and there are different ways. Maybe some of us are born in a culture where these things are all arranged. Some of us were born in Western culture where there's not such an established system for arranging these things. But somehow or other, we know what the standard is. Srila Prabhupada has laid it out very clearly, as in this purport and these coming verses. I don't envy the devotees that have to give the next couple of classes, because it gets even more intense as we go on. But somehow or other, we help each other, men and women, authorities and followers, gurus and disciples, Krishna, and each soul make some arrangement to transform our kama back into prema. And that's ultimately what's at stake. So we may be put in situations where our faith, or you could say our commitment, is challenged. But then we have to decide, do we want, what do we really want out of life? If one has gone into the grihastha ashram, one has to keep faith with one's partner and the society of devotees, the association of devotees. So, I don't know, there's no simple answer to it. Yes?
Maya. Sex is the favorite weapon of Maya. So if personalities like Narada Muni, Lord Shiva, and even Brahma, they didn't pass the test, what can we expect from us, little jivas?
Yeah. Well, again, it's part of a warning. Of course, if one goes through those pastimes, we can see that in one sense they're acted out for our instruction. But the warnings are there that even for the greatest souls in this world, that test of Maya is always there. And I'm not going to claim that I've passed every test or am in some special position. You know, anything that I'm saying is directed to me as well as anyone else. But I like reading Srimad Bhagavatam because there are so many examples of what it's like to, whether it's Kardama Muni or Kashyapa Muni and his wife, or Urvasi and Pururava. There's so many pastimes that are so instructive and entertaining as well. What to speak of Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, the queens of Vrindavan, Kubja. You know, it's stated that one of the purposes of the Srimad Bhagavatam is to help us become free from kṣamā in the sense of material lust. You know, and Srila Prabhupada says that the way to deal with kṣamā is you transfer that desire for pleasure. He says it's natural. Anandamaya vyasat. Krishna expanded himself for pleasure, to get pleasure, to increase his ananda. And we're made for that. We're made to experience that pleasure. We're just looking for it in the wrong place. You know, Srila Prabhupada was giving a class and a devotee asked the question, how is that original love for Krishna, how does it get transformed into lust, kṣamā? Prabhupada says it's easy to understand, just like they're husband and wife. They've got each other, but they go for someone else, each of them. Why are they doing that? Because they think they're going to be happier in that way. They're going to have more pleasure. But it turns out not to be like that. You know, if you do the proper accounting, you'll see they just create problems for themselves. So the warnings are there in Srimad Bhagavatam, the positive examples are there. I'm sorry, I've really gone overboard here. So we'll stop there. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.